everyone and welcome. Today I'm going to show you all the books that I bought in March. I bought a total of 15 books, but some of them are complete series, so this video shouldn't be too long. And all of them are adult fantasy except for one, which is part of an historical fiction manga series. But without further ado, let's get into the books. And the first book that I bought was Empire of Sand by Tasha Suri. This is a standalone, I think. There is a companion if you want, but this one does have a complete story. And I bought this because I wanted to have a fantasy book with a strong romance element in it. And this fits the bill. I think that this is Indian inspired, which is something that I do enjoy because I wanted to have more fantasy books that are not just medieval England inspired. So this one sounds interesting. And I have heard that there's a very slow burn romance, enemies to lovers almost. I don't know if that's the case, but at least strangers to lovers, because there is an arranged marriage here. So I'm quite excited for this. I have seen some booktubers reading this recently and loving it a lot. I think that Tammy Tries to Read did a vlog for this one and she either gave it 4 or 5 stars, so that's quite promising. And I do want to read this one soon. It seems like it's going to be a quick read. It's under 500 pages. For adult fantasy, that's not a lot. So yeah, hopefully I can squeeze it in soon. And the next book is one that I actually bought at the same time. And it's also one that I bought because I wanted to have a strong romance element in my fantasy. And that is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I actually already read this at this point and it was fine. It was what I wanted, which was a quick and easy read with a lot of romance. The plot isn't that interesting, the characters aren't that interesting either, but if you just want to have a romance story and nothing else, not too much to think about, then I do think that this is great. There wasn't too much smut in the first one, but I have heard that that increases in the sequels quite a bit. Because I wasn't really in love with it, I am going to continue with the series, but I think if I'm in the right mindset again, where I just want to have an easy read, then I will pick up the second one and see what I think about it. But for now, this was quite enjoyable and it was what I was asking for. And then together with those two, I actually bought the third book in the Vinland Saga series. So this is historical fiction and a manga series where you follow a Viking, Torkel, and he is out for revenge. He wants to murder the person who killed his father. And I read the first 2 books already. I really like it. I think that it's quite emotional with a lot of depth as well. And at the moment there are 12 books out, so I only read the first 2, so I have a lot more to read. But I'm quite enjoying the series and I want to make progress quite quickly. So those were actually all of the books from my first purchase, and I thought that I was going to leave it at that because I have more than enough unread books. I don't need any more, but I actually had to buy one book because I'm participating in the Scala Along, which is a read-along for the entire series by Lynn Flewelling. And I didn't have the second book, so I was buying that one on Amazon and I was browsing to see if there was anything more that was interesting, and it kind of went south from there, so I bought another bunch of books from Amazon. So the one that I had to buy for the read-along was Stalking Darkness by Lynn Flewelling, which is the second book in the Night Runner series. I read the first one last month, and this read-along is, by the way, again hosted by Chris over at Chris Bookish Cauldron and Andy Smith. And I really enjoyed the first book, so I'm going to continue with the read-along and I needed the second. In this one you follow Alec and Sergil. Both of them are spies, but there's a lot more involved here. You have a quite interesting world building. The magic is quite soft, but I actually like that in this setting. And especially the relationship between Alec and Sergil is something that I really enjoyed. And I know that there is going to be a romance further along in the story. So again, that's something that I am quite interested in. And it seems like it is going to be a little bit of a slow burn maybe, because in the first book you have some small sprinkles that something is going to happen in the later entries of this series, but it didn't happen yet. So I am hoping that this is going to be the kind of romance that I will enjoy, and if it isn't, then the story in itself and the characters are enough to make me invested. The second book that I bought there was Kashils Dart by Jacqueline Carey, and this is the first one in a series, but I actually don't know what the name is. You have a first trilogy, so this is really the beginning, but then you also have a second and even a third trilogy in this world. And what was most interested here and what kind of made me want to buy this book is the world building and the history that this world has, which I found was quite interesting, and just especially because it takes Christianity and then has a twist on it. So both Huck over at Badger Reads and then Chris over at Chris Bookish Cauldron read this book. They buddy read it together and they both had a review for this book up on their channel. And they both enjoyed it. They thought that it was quite strange, so that made me even more curious to see what it's like. And in this world, you basically had Christ Christ died at the cross, and then there was a second Immaculate Conception. So you have a second Messiah who was the son of Christ. Now he roams the land with, again, some apostles of his and with a woman. And because they don't have enough money, she sells her body to provide for them. And because of that, in this world, sex workers are not looked down upon or anything like that. It's even something almost holy. So in this first book, and I think in the other books as well, you follow a woman who is working as a sex worker, and she has been touched by kashils dart, which means that she also enjoys pain, or that pain and pleasure are almost combined together. So because of that, because I've heard of this book a while ago already, I thought that this was going to be erotica, which that's going too far for me. I don't really like to read that. But then both Chris and Huck said that it actually wasn't. Of course, there is going to be some parts that go over this topic because it's present in the book, it's present in the world building, but that really isn't the point of the story. And there are actually also a lot of political intrigues because this girl, Farah, I think she's called, hears a lot of what's happening in court, and she actually gets to know about a plot that threatens the foundation of this land. So political intrigue is something that I'm always interested in, and I hope that I will like the first book as much as the two other booktubers that I mentioned did. Now the next book is one that I have been interested in for a while, but then recently Elliot Brooks read it and she loved it. So that made me decide that I want to read it as soon as possible as well. And that is Lancelot by Giles Christian. So this is a standalone, and I think that it is a retelling of the Arthurian legend through Lancelot's eyes. When you look at the information at the inside of the book, it also says that Merlin is going to be present and Guinevere. So I do think that this will be quite close to the original legend, which I hope, because I actually don't know a lot about that, and I hope that I will have a little bit more information through this book. I already read 20 pages, so not a lot, but I am enjoying the writing style quite a lot. It's almost poetic, which does mean that I can't read big chunks of it at a time, because then I just lose my focus, and I do think that this writing style deserves to have your full attention and to really enjoy it for what it is, because it's really superb. Then the next book that I have is a self-published one that was on my list of standalones that I wanted to read in 2021, and that is The Raven and the Reindeer by T. Kingfisher. So this is an adult fairy tale retelling of The Snow Queen, which is a fairy tale by Hans Christian Andersen, and I have seen a Frolic Through Fiction read this one and she quite enjoyed it, so I hope that I will as well. And it's only 200 pages long, so I feel that this is one that I can definitely read in between some bigger books as a palate cleanser almost, so I hope that I will read this one soon. Next up, I bought 2 books to complete a series where I already had the first book. And the first book I bought in January, I think, which was The Thousand Deaths of Arthur Ben by Tyler Whitesides. This is the first book in the Kingdom of Grit story. And then I bought the second one, I think that this is the second one, The Shattered Realm of Arthur Ben. And then The Last Lies of Arthur Ben. Yes, this is the third one, so I'm correct. Unfortunately, they're not the exact same size, which pains me a little bit, but I'll get over it, I guess. And then the third book is also damaged, which is also a shame, but at least you don't see it if they're on the shelves. But in this trilogy, you follow Arthur Ben. He isn't really an ordinary thief. He sees himself as a master craftsman, and then one day he gets contacted to perform a heist. So he assembles his dream team of forgers, thieves, stuff like that, to steal from a king. But while he is doing that, he's kind of realizes that it's not only his glory that is at stake, but that he might be the last help or hope of human civilization. So I have heard that there's also going to be a dragon, and I see that, you know, in one of the books he has to steal a dragon. So I think that this will be quite epic, quite action-packed, and I don't know if I will like it, but I have a feeling that I will, which is why I completed the trilogy. And I don't know if I can squeeze this one in this year, but I hope that I can. So we'll see about that. If anybody has read this trilogy, then please let me know, because I don't hear a lot of people talk about it. Then I have another first in a series, and this is actually a longer series. I think that it has a total of 7 books. So I bought the first one, and that is King's Dragon by Kate Elliott, and the entire series is called Crown of Stars. Now, I actually don't know a lot about this. I know that I love the cover. I think that the cover is beautiful. And it feels like this is going to be traditional fantasy, or at least older fantasy, that I wanted to try. This book has been published in 1997. I wanted to read something by Kate Elliott for a long time, and I know for a fact that two booktubers that I watch, Andrew's Wizardly Reads and Nico's Book Reviews, both really liked this book. So I will link their channels down below if you want to have a look, because I think that they also have a video where they discuss this book together. But I think that it might be spoiler filled, so that's why I didn't watch it yet. However, I don't think, again, that I will be able to read this book soon, but I really want to, because Kate Elliott is just a staple figure almost in fantasy, and especially older fantasy books, that I just want to see what it's about. And then almost the last part of this book haul, I bought an entire trilogy, and that was the Rift Wars saga by Raymond E. Feist. So the first book is Magician, then the second book is Silverthorn, and the last one in the trilogy is Darkness at Setanon. So this trilogy is the first one in his bigger series, and I think that that bigger series compromises 9 series in total. So that's almost like The Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb, where you have a big series, but it's actually divided into smaller parts, which is something that I really enjoy, because that way you're not committed to a very long series at once. You can actually read the first trilogy, and if you like it, you can continue, and if you don't, you can stop there. But I do think, again, that this is traditional fantasy that I just should give a try. The first book came out in 1983, so that's definitely a long while ago. And in this one you follow Puck. Puck used to be a kitchen boy orphan, but he's destined to become a great magician in this Rift Wars saga, where you have darkness against light, or something like that. At least it feels very traditional, with a lot of traditional tropes of the chosen one. But I just want to see what it's about, and I've heard a lot of great things of this one. And as I said, this is a series that I wanted to start and hopefully finish in 2021. So I am going to try to do that. And then the last book that I bought was actually one of my anticipated releases, and it just arrived on my doorstep last week, because I think that came out in April. And that is Sister Song by Lucy Holland. This is actually historical fantasy, but it's also a retelling of an old British ballad called The Two Sisters. And in this book you actually follow 3 sisters who are the daughters of a king, and when he dies they inherit the land. I think that they are Britons, but I don't really know a lot more, other than it says betrayal, magic, murder, a tale of 3 siblings and 3 deadly sins. I think that the magical element here is very closely connected to nature, which is something that I love. It's a standalone, it's under 400 pages, so I think that this is one that I am going to read soon. And because it's a new release, I might give a little bit more attention to it through a vlog or maybe a review for this book alone. We'll see. I think that I will love it, and it could be a new favorite, so I'm quite excited that I got this one. And again, I really love this cover. I think that it's beautiful. You have like this gold. It's very pretty, and I'm happy that I have it on my shelves. So those were all of the books that I bought in March. Please let me know if you bought any books in March, and are you very excited to maybe read one as soon as possible, or have you already read some? And please let me know what you think of the books that I bought. Have you read any of them, and do you think that I should maybe prioritize one over the other? Then let me know in the comments down below. As always, I hope that you enjoyed the video, and see you next time. Bye!